Rachel has been an associate at my law firm for a number of years now, and she's been working on nothing but plaintiff's personal injury cases, medical malpractice cases, sexual abuse cases, cases involving wrongful death. And this is a case that we gave to Rachel and James to try. James is a lawyer who is not from, I should tell you, Rachel is also a graduate of Cardozo Law School. James is a graduate of Brooklyn Law School, and he was also one of the trial lawyers in this case. In fact, they were the trial lawyers in this case, and they had just finished up this case in Brooklyn, so we've asked them to come in and show you a demonstration of their opening statements and the summation that they gave. So I'll turn it right over to Rachel.
Thank you. First of all, as a Cardozo alum, I'm super excited to be here. I did ITAP 6 years ago now, so you're all in a really great spot. So good luck. If you have any questions, reach out to Peter. He has my contact information. I'm always happy to speak with any Cardozo student who's looking to get into trial work or just look at a resume. Always happy to speak with you guys. May it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Rachel Jacobs, and along with James Rubinowitz, we represent the family of Steigman Mackauf, Patricia, Michael, Alfred, and Sarah. Before we get started here today, I just want to take a minute to thank all of you as the jurors for being here with us today. We know that you have a lot of other things that you can be doing, work to attend to, families to take care of, so thank you all so much for your time, your patience, and attention. On October 14th, 2014, Xiaoying Li died through no fault of her own. She died unnecessarily because of the carelessness and negligence of the defendant in this case. In fact, the defendant has conceded liability. He has admitted that he is 100% at fault for Miss Li's death. So the only issue in this case is one of damages. What happened as a result of the death of Steigman Mackauf? Every second counts. Miss Li knew that, and she made her time on this earth count. She used all of her years of experience to give guidance and support to her children, who, while adults, successful adults, still turn to their mother on a regular basis for advice that they could get from no one else in their lives. In order for you to understand the enormity of the loss to this family, to these 4 children, I want to explain to you who Xiaoying Li was and what exactly was that she provided for her family. Miss Li was the matriarch of her family. She used her 90 years on this earth to teach her children about respect, learning, guidance, ethics, and moral support. Patricia, Alfred, Michael, and Sarah. Each one of them had a unique and special relationship with their mother. And over the course of this case, you will hear from them about how they turned to their mother for guidance and support. Unfortunately, Sarah couldn't be with us here today because she has an injury that's totally unrelated to this case. But you'll hear about her and how she was unable to turn to her mother when she suffered the worst in her life. There's a phrase that gets tossed around a lot, especially as people get older. Age is just a number. What this really means is that age isn't just about the number of years that a person has lived on this earth, but it's about things like cognitive function. How well can a person think? Their overall health, their physical abilities. And I'm telling you right now, yes, Xiaoying was 90 years old, but she was still sharp as a tack. She spoke with all of her children regularly, articulately, and frequently. She read the newspaper, she digested it, and then she would talk about it with anyone and everyone that she could speak to. But not only was she doing well mentally, she was doing well physically. At the age of 90, Miss Lee did not use any assistive devices. She didn't use a walker, she didn't use a wheelchair, she was never diagnosed with cancer, she didn't have any chronic diseases. In fact, the only disease that she had was osteoporosis, which is a weakening of the bones that most women experience when they're postmenopausal. She only went to the doctor 2 times a year, and that was for her regular checkups. She read voraciously. She loved to knit, she loved to sew, she worked on projects both for herself, for her children, and other people in her community. And she went for long walks. And in fact, Miss Lee had an unusual habit. And she went on her walks, and when she went on her walks, she often collected bottles and cans. And this was a long-standing habit for Miss Lee. She had been doing it ever since she came to the country several years ago. And she kept it up as she got older because she liked to still make a little bit of money for herself. It made her feel good. And it was a way for her to stay active as she got older. And she often did it in the early morning hours of the day when the air was just a little bit fresher. And you'll hear that's exactly what she was doing on October 14th, 2014, at 4 a.m. when she was killed at the intersection of Canal Street and Elizabeth Street. As I said earlier, you're not going to hear a lot about how the accident happened because the defendant, he's admitted he's the one who caused Miss Lee's death. But you need to understand just a little bit about how the accident happened in order to truly understand the severity of Miss Lee's injuries. Miss Lee was walking in the crosswalk where she should be, where she had every right to be, pushing a cart, when the defendant drove into Miss Lee, dragged her several feet, and left her underneath his vehicle to die. I'm telling you right now, Miss Lee suffered serious injuries that ultimately ended her life. But those injuries, they didn't kill her instantly. She suffered fractures all over her body, from her arms to her legs, in her femurs, the largest bones in her body, fractured, her pelvis, her pubic bone, and she suffered 40 fractures to different parts of her ribs, puncturing her lungs, causing blood to pool in her chest. But these injuries did not kill her instantly. In fact, you will hear from 2 independent witnesses who will tell you what they saw and what they heard. That they saw Miss Lee move minutes after the accident occurred, that they heard her moaning, a faint moan, but a moan nonetheless a few minutes after the accident occurred. And these independent witnesses, who have nothing to do with my clients or the defendant, listen to what they had to say, listen to what they heard, listen to what they saw. And the only conclusion that can be reached is that the last thing that Miss Lee felt before she left this earth, as she lay on the ground underneath the defendant's vehicle, was pain. But this case isn't just about Ms. Lee's pain. It's also about the enormous loss suffered by her children. You will hear about the unique and special relationships that each one of her children had with her. They could turn to her for advice without fear of judgment. They could go to her for advice that they couldn't go to for other people in their lives. They would turn to their mother for marital advice, for work advice. And of course, the type of advice that they turned to for their mother, that changed over time. When they were younger, it was getting through school, relationships, but then it was raising kids, dealing with work issues. So although the type of advice that they turned to from their mother changed over time, the fact that they needed her advice and valued her advice, that never changed for them. This case is about what happened when the defendant struck Miss Lee with his vehicle. When the defendant drove into Miss Lee and left her to die underneath his vehicle. About the tremendous loss suffered by these 4 children. The defendant robbed these children of parental care and advice that we say they were entitled to for years to come, based on the fact that, yes, she was 90 years old, but also based on the fact that she was sharp as a tack when she died. She was physically active, and based on the fact that up until the day that she died, her children turned to her for advice that they couldn't get from anyone else. At the close of the evidence in this case, we'll have the opportunity to stand up here and ask you for something. And it's something that only you as jurors can speak to. Because only you as jurors can speak to Miss Lee's pain and suffering as she laid underneath the defendant's vehicle, knowing she was going to die. The apprehension of death and fear that she felt, and the knowledge that Miss Lee never had the chance to say goodbye to her children. Only you as jurors can speak to the tremendous loss suffered by these 4 children through no fault of their own, and the fact that they never had the chance to say goodbye to their mother. And so, at the end of this case, you'll hear from my co-counsel, Mr. Rubinowitz, and we will stand up here and yes, we will ask you for substantial amounts of money, but we will also ask you for the one thing that you as jurors can do,